and we're underway and racing. Stay on the brakes, goodness me, what a launch! The outside of turn 1 and takes the lead of the race.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the APC for the penultimate round of Season 7. I'm Tom Dillon, and I'll be taking you through the broadcast this evening and what could be a decisive day at the top of the table. The the team's championship has already been decided. It has gone the way of the Ferrari drivers, and we are waiting to see if this evening we will confirm the victors in the Drivers' Championship standings. Wongsvad Reversi could take victory if he is to win today. There's some specific things that need to be done for that to be decided. However, we'll be keeping an eye on that throughout the course of the day. I'd like to say Owen Boldero is back with me. We'll be dragging him in throughout the course of the qualifying session to speak to him about all of the technical insight that you need to receive. And this should be fantastic. So, to go back to the top of the field then, with this penultimate round, it's 1 point in it between Andreas Senkovan and Wongsvad Reversi. It's a pity this isn't a 13-round championship, because it would make today an absolutely consequential race. However, we have got one race after this, but it does mean that if Reversi is to score 25 points and Senkovan is to score none, then it means that Reversi is your champion in Season 7. At one point in this season, it did look like Reversi was going to stroll away with it somewhat, take victory early in this championship. However, it has gone down to the wire and could even yet go down more to the wire. We're just about waiting for the game to be ready for us to go down to the grid, I should say, and get this qualifying session underway. And as I can take you down there, as unfortunately we've got the black screen of death here, as it's not wanting to help me with showing you the game pictures. But there we go, that should be better. My apologies about that. We've not got anyone moving just yet as we get ready to get underway. I say that, I take that back, because Aaron McGurk will be our first driver to make his way out onto the circuit. This Les Sales circuit, one of the newer ones in the Formula 1 game, is one of the more peculiar circuits, actually. It's very much a motorcycle track in its DNA, but has been holding Formula 1 races for the last couple of years now, and has been a really interesting track to watch as well. We had our first race here in 2021, of course, with Hamilton and Verstappen having their championship fight get confirmed to head down to the final 2 races. And here, of course, it's a similar story, just in a slightly different context. Soft tyres for everyone, of course, as McGurk makes his way around. As whilst we have this first couple of laps start coming in, let's bring in Owen and welcome him back to the stream. Owen, it's been a while since we've spoken, since I've been off a couple of rounds. You've been off a couple of rounds as well. But looking at this one, this should be a very interesting race. You told me in the green room that it is you think it's going to be a Reversi walkover. However, the question is, do you think the championship will be decided at that?
I don't think the championship will be decided today. I think it will go down to the final race, but yeah, as you said, I do think we will see a Wongsvad Reversi victory today, just because from what I've seen of him over the course of this season, it seems like his kind of circuit. Qatar, in its characteristics, a very high-speed circuit, and with him being on PC, I'm going to assume he is on wheel, and at a circuit like Qatar, being on wheel just has such a massive advantage due to the nature of all the high-speed corners in this circuit.
Yeah, well, we're looking at Connor Stewart-Woodard now. He'll be the second to cross the line and start his lap. As actually, we'll go back to Aaron McGurk, who's very shortly going to get on away. In fact, I'm getting a little confused with myself what's happening here. I think he's already backed out of his lap, because he must have been validated at some point on the circuit. So we're right on board with Connor Stewart-Woodard as he goes through Sector 3 here. Just the final few corners. Again, it's very fast, very flowing, this circuit. I think the major thing here is that Andreas Senkovan will have to DNF from the race if Wongisvat is to take victory. What do you rate the chances of that happening as?
Andreas Sankovan DNFing pretty much slim to none, mainly due to the characteristics, as I said earlier, of Qatar. I mean, there's basically no walls to hit on this circuit, which will link into strategy later. When I talk about strategy, I will talk about the nature of this circuit again a little bit later. But I don't expect a DNF today, in my opinion, just because of how little walls there are to hit.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And if Wongisvat was to take maximum points today and Andrea finish in 9th, which is last place effectively, the championship wouldn't be won by 1 point, pretty much. So that'll be interesting. I wonder if we'll get any Ferrari team strategy, anything like that. But we'll go back to Owen a little bit later on. Thank you very much for the insight, Owen, as Aaron McGurk actually sets the fastest lap of the qualifying session so far in his first lap of the day. It's Connor Stewart-Woodard who will be next. Now, I don't really know what a good lap time is around here. It's very up in the air. It's one of those circuits that actually isn't used by lots of leagues around the league racing scene, because it is one of those newer circuits. It's not one of your traditional league racing circuits like your Spas or your Monzas. Possibly a little bit more used nowadays as we ride on board with Connor Stewart-Woodard to see what he can do. He's making his way around the final corner. Of course, that looks to be a pretty poor lap from Aaron McGurk. I think that was the lap where he struggled and slowed down. Now it's Connor Stewart-Woodard who sets a more representative lap time and goes into first position, 1:24.5. Lewis Smith is on a lap as well. He's the reigning champion, of course. His reign has now been confirmed to come to an end at the end of this season. So that's not quite going to be the case, as Kyle Stewart-Woodard knocks his brother off the top of the timing tower in these early stages. And we'll also keep an eye, as I said, on Lewis Smith. The second Williams, we've now got a second Williams here in this championship. It's being driven by, as I'm actually looking at the wrong spreadsheet here, it's driven by Luca Serazzini. Either way, I shook down at my screen and I saw Wongisvat reversing in a Williams. I thought that's not the case. Somehow I've managed to click on the season 6 driver details spreadsheet, so that's not very good. But yeah, it is Luca Serazzini in that second Williams, and he's making his way around. He's actually purple in sector 2, so this could be a very good lap from Luca. He's not really been at the top of the order at any point in this championship, but maybe Qatar's just one of those circuits that he absolutely gets. And again, he's flying here on this lap, is Luca Serazzini. 1:23.9 to beat. This could be a pole position worthy lap time. Still a few very quick drivers still to cross the line, but Luca Serazzini goes to the top of the timing tower. So that is a really, really strong lap from him. Still got some very quick drivers to set a lap themselves, though, as Wongisvat Reversi, one of them, looking to be champion at the end of the day. Today, he is very, very low on fuel because he's maximum attack in this one, using a bit of overtake as he fires himself down into the final corner here. Also, probably one of the better braking, overtaking opportunities on the circuit, looking like he's going to absolutely smash the top of the timing tower. 1:21.2, he's 2 seconds faster than Luca Serazzini. And second across the line is Ethan Shackleton. He's himself about 1.1 seconds down on Wongisvat Reversi. So that's not ideal at all. Now Andreas Senkovan, who needs something pretty special in order to knock Reversi off his perch, will go second place. Now it should be mentioned that Shackleton Senkovan really needs to go faster than Reversi in this qualifying session in order to try and get the better of him throughout the course of the race. Just 1 point in between those two drivers at the very top of the championship standings. It's going to be really close as we make our way to the end of the season. And if Senkovan is able to win today, he will be at the top of the order for the first time in the season, possibly for the most important time in the season. Also would mean that it's basically a battle of who can win the race next time out if Andreas Senkovan needs to take victory today. Lewis Smith has gone into third position. That was the last lap time set, and meanwhile it looks like Adam Watson has gone into 8th position, going for a back-to-back. Is he here? He's got a decent amount of battery to work with, and certainly hasn't slowed down visibly there as Reversi comes into the pits as well. So that's the end of the first runs here in qualifying, as we see Reversi making his way into the pit lane. And early indications then, Owen, as we'll go back to Owen Boldero is that Reversi's got the pace here, but I think Sankovan is well and truly on pace with him. It's going to be all about that final run, I think.
Yeah, they're two fantastic lap times from Montserrat Reversi and Andrea Chenkovan there. And yeah, it will come down to the final run, I think. Qatar, in a qualifying session, generally does Qatar as a circuit very much on edge throughout the entire lap. And you can gain so much time from staying on throttle that little bit longer. So the final run will be absolutely crucial here. And last season, pole position did go down to the final run. And funnily enough, pole position was taken by me here last season.
What was your lap time?
It was on F1 23, but it was a 120.9, I believe.
Okay, makes sense. So maybe expecting a little bit slower here, but we're not far off immediately as Adam Watson makes his way into the pit lane. Ethan Shackleton has gone for a second lap by the looks of it. I can't really tell if this is a second lap. He looks to be pretty on rails as he makes his way through the left-hander. Quick downshift, actually almost all over that curb on drivers right now into the final corner. This is a push lap for Ethan Shackleton, and it might be a lap that puts him into the top 3 at the very least. It's really, really strong so far, and it is very, very strong. He's just 3 tenths per second down his teammate, 4 tenths per second faster than Lewis Smith. So Ethan Shackleton already Constructors champions here are Ferrari. They're now looking to launch this two-pronged attack on Wongsavat Reversi. Reversi, of course, looking to wrap up the championship today, if you are just joining us. Andrea Senkovan is first out for his second lap, and he's immediately joined by Wongsavat Reversi, sole Haas driver here in the championship. Looking at Luca Sarancini. He's going into the left-hander just to get himself ready for another lap. It's actually a wonderfully flowing circuit here in Qatar as we see Ethan Shackleton making his way back into pit lane. So next driver to be on a lap is going to be Connor Stewart-Woodard. His previous lap, 1 minute 23.9. What can happen here? It's Carl Stewart-Woodard, excuse me, getting the brothers confused. As out to the first corner he goes, using the curb on the left-hand side. Now just extending the circuit a little bit on driver's right. He's going to get away without any track limits warnings though, which is the most important thing. Looking at that 50-meter board, now down into 5th gear. 4th gear through the right-hander, and it's just a bit of a sloppy invalidation, I think he'll allow me to say. As he really just turned in a little bit too early and it affected him. Andrea Senkovan then is heading through the final corner. Have a look at the telemetry for the Ferrari driver. Makes his way down into the first corner using all of that claret strip on the left-hand side. Will look for that 50-meter board and go down into 5th gear very quickly on the throttle, but I think actually he might be running a little bit of traction control because you could hear how the engine just completely whined while he was full throttle on the exit of that corner. Now makes his way to the left-hand side of the circuit, all over the curb once again. This won't be doing the engine many favours. Doesn't really matter in a league race. 6th gear, flicks it in again, and almost completely sliding through this section of the track, and it's enough for a purple first sector. So this is really, really important from Andrea Senkovan. To the right-hand side goes the Alpine of, I believe that's Carl Stewart-Woodard. As now Senkovan trying to keep this lap intact. He's just about not invalidated there, still trying to wrestle this car through the corners as he makes his way into the Sector 2 timing line. We'll see whether it's still a purple lap from him. It's not. He's now 900ths of a second off where he needs to be. So there's all on the line in this final sector with 5 minutes to go in the session, and he is not giving anything less than he needs to here. Andrea Senkovan still flat through the left-hander. One more corner to go for Andrea Senkovan. This has been a stellar lap so far, but is it good enough? He makes a bit of a mistake onto the curb, makes his run to the line. I don't think it will be pole position for Senkovan. It will be a little bit faster than he went before with a purple final sector. 1 minute 21.5, so he's still 3 seconds off the pace. Reversi is into the pit lane. He invalidated on his lap. That was a very, very good lap time from Andrea Senkovan. Just couldn't quite get it hooked up in Sector 2, I mean.
No, not quite. Made a little mistake in Sector 2. Just again proving Qatar really difficult circuit, just so on edge. Track limits here are really difficult. One of the most difficult circuits on the entire game in terms of track limits. So yeah, fairly understandable. But there's always the race, so we will see.
Yeah, well, we will see for sure. One more run to go in this qualifying session. Aaron McGurk has gone purple in the first sector, so this could be a good lap from him as he throws the car through this very interesting middle sector at Qatar, actually, sector 3, of course. He went purple in the second sector then, and up to the line. Is this going to be a pole position lap time for Aaron McGurk? Doesn't look like it is. It's a 1:21.7, so he goes into third. And unlikely championship contender is Aaron McGurk, but well, not one in contention directly, but in contention for that top 3. That's for sure. To give you the championship standings, unfortunately, I couldn't access the graphic that I get sent for this one, but I can read you the championship standings and tell you that Aaron McGurk is quite significantly ahead of Ethan Shackleton, about 13 points or so between those two drivers. Sorry, 23 points between those two drivers. So third position seems to be his to take. Been a couple of unlucky DNFs for Ethan Shackleton, for example, an issue last week with his hardware. Has helped his team to the Constructors' Championships. That's not a major deal for him. Lewis Smith then, also on a fast lap here. Back-to-back fast lap, in fact, by the looks of it. 21.8 was his lap time in the previous lap. Just invalidates. Very, very harsh invalidation. Just squeezed over the white line onto the curb. And that is that lap done for Lewis Smith as everyone prepares for their final qualifying runs here. Got just a couple of minutes to go in the qualifying session. That was the 4th lap for Lewis Smith. As the track for now falls a little bit silent. You can see there the Williams crew getting ready to receive Aaron McGurk. He makes his way into the box. And sparking into life as Sevencini on an out lap. Sparking into life as well is one of the 2 McLarens. It's Connor Stewart Woodard. And with 2 minutes 20 to go in the session, this will be his final lap of the session, I am sure. You'll see a flurry of activity in probably about 10 seconds time as everyone starts to leave the box and creates a very, very crowded circuit, unless all of our front runners are happy with their time so far. Got to be quick. They want to leave the box because there is going to be just about, it's 1 minute 21 lap time, so you do the maths. As we'll go with Sevencini as Ethan Shackleton is making his way onto the circuit. So maybe soon they'll head out onto the circuit. They'll be very close if they're leaving now to completely missing that window. I can see Aaron McGurk makes his way back out. Wongsvat Reversi has come out of the box as well, so he'll be having one final attack at this. Now the question is, when does Senkovan decide to move? Doesn't look like he's looking for it anytime soon, and I think Senkovan is voluntarily retiring from the session then, which is very, very interesting indeed. Purple in the first sector for Luca Sevencini. What an unlikely pole position this would be for the Williams man. But looking pretty good so far. That was a small mistake into the left-hander, and he's not got a lot of battery charge either, so pole position probably unlikely here for Sevencini. Excuse me, that was middle sector, so actually he makes his way up to the line. He does go 6th still. He can't quite get ahead of Ethan Shackleton, but he's very, very quick. Reversi's retired from the session. What's happened there? As he must have been validated and just pulled off to the side and decided he'd had enough. Senkovan's out of the session as well then, so he's happy with 2nd place. And it's Aaron McGurk that we keep an eye on for that final chance at pole position then. Through the double right, making his way deep into sector 3 here is Aaron McGurk. He's really the only man with a chance of pole position, maybe Shackleton as well. So Shackleton will be the first to start his lap in the Ferrari. Doesn't want to knock his teammate off 2nd position, of course, with the championship as it is. They've already wrapped up one of the 2 championships, and Shackleton is out of one of them. So wants to help his teammates as much as he can. Senkovan, Lewis Smith both taking the checkered flag, and that's a mistake from Ethan Shackleton that might just take him out of contention for this pole position. So I want to take a look at the McLarens as Connor Stewart-Woodard has invalidated his lap. So has Adam Watson. His best time, 1:26.6, is going to stay as it is. Kyle Stewart-Woodard then will be the next driver who's in contention to cross the line, hoping maybe he can get himself into the top 5. It would be a mighty lap time if he's able to do it. Through the final corner then goes Kyle Stewart-Woodard, and he's struggling a little bit through that part of the track, and as he makes his way to the line, it will be a 23 that he sets. He's 0.2 of a second improved, but can't quite get himself close to Luca Serencini. So now with Aaron McGurk invalidated and out of the session, so is Ethan Shackleton by the looks of things, which means that actually the only man with any chance might still be Aaron McGurk, in fact. So it's right on board with him. No, definitely not. He's invalidated. So that is effectively the end of the qualifying session, and by the looks of things, it is Wongsavat Reversi on pole position, a rather anticlimactic way. I do wonder, Owen Boldero, why on earth Andreas Engelmann chose not to do another run.
Maybe he just didn't think he could go any faster. I'm not too sure. But it didn't go down to the final run in the end. But I have a really interesting stat for you here. Out of all the drivers on this list that were racing in F1 23, only one went faster than their F1 23 time. Everyone else was at least 0.3 off of their previous time. And the big loser being Kyle Stewart-Woodard, who lost nearly a second on his F1 23 time. Andreas Senkovan was a 1:21.2 in F1 23, which really suggests that this circuit actually has got a bit slower, which I actually think is true, because I feel like I've gotten a little bit slower at this circuit since F1 23. But yeah, just an interesting stat there that I found whilst looking through the times from last year, or last season rather.
Yeah, thank you very much, Owen. That is interesting. It's always difficult to compare lap times between games, but offers you a little bit of insight. You see there the confirmation. Wongsavat Reversi wouldn't win the championship if it were to stay like this, but he'd definitely get an important 8 points or so on Andreas Senkovan, 0.2 of a second ahead of him. It's Aaron McGurk, Lewis Smith, and Ethan Shackleton, your top 5. Lucas Serencini is in 6th position with the 2 brothers of Connor Stewart-Woodard just behind Kyle Stewart-Woodard, and then it is Adam Watson in 9th position. So we'll head back to the splash screen and just have a little bit of a chat about, first of all, Ferrari, I think, Owen, because some would say that actually this has been a little bit of a dead rubber teams championship, I think is fair to say. But they have been the most consistent and best team throughout. I think that hasn't helped Reversi not having a teammate, of course, but either way, they've been the most consistent.
No, of course, Wongsavat Reversi not having a teammate for pretty much the entire season hasn't helped his case. But you can't take that away from Ferrari. You know, Shackleton and Senkovan, both fantastic drivers, and they've both just been consistently there. And that's the reason they've won that teams championship, is just consistently chipping away, getting good points every week, and they are deserving champions, in my opinion. So well done to Senkovan and Shackleton.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And as we head into this race, what role does Ethan Shackleton now have to play in the running of things? Because surely he goes purely into a wingman role now. I mean, we saw a few games last week where he was trying to wingman along Senkovan, but this week surely, and the last 2 rounds of the season, in fact, surely he just has to go into pure wingman mode.
Yeah, at this point in the season, he is 100% just the rear gunner, and I think he will know that and accept that, because Ferrari have a chance to take both championships, and if you have that chance and you're up there as the teammate, you've got to do everything you can to help your teammate win the championship. And I think that is something he'll know and something he'll try to do, because from what we've seen this season, Shackleton has been a fantastic teammate for Andrea.
He has, and if you think back to some of those great races we've had this season, many of them we've seen Ethan Shackleton play that kind of wingman role. And I'm trying to think of examples at the top of my head, but
I can think of one where he wasn't rear gunner.
Yes, I can think of one where he wasn't really gonna as well. He really, he had a collision at one point, didn't they, the two Ferraris? But either
Yeah,
way, most of it was pretty well spirited.
yeah, it was. Yeah, and the one I was thinking of was the Netherlands, where they were fighting for the win in the wet, and Montserrat Reversi was on the intermediates, and they were still on the dries towards the end of the race, and inevitably that fighting probably cost them a race victory between the two of them.
Yeah, of course, that was one I wasn't present for. Josh was on the call
Yeah,
for that one,
Josh was there.
but yeah, I watched that on the replay afterwards, and really stupid for Ferrari. They might actually look back at it and say that could have been the reason that Senkerman goes to lose this championship, but that
Could
is
be, yeah.
a way away yet. We need to keep sight of the fact, remember, that while Reversi is ahead and probably the favourite for the championship, he is only ahead by 1 point, so it's not a lot at all. But as we get ready to go into this race session, then we can have a look at first of all what tyres everyone is on, but second of all the strategy, Owen.
Sorry about that. My mic was having trouble unmuting itself. But yeah, strategy here really interesting. And the one I agree with immediately is Montserrat Reversi. And as I was saying earlier in qualifying, the characteristics of this circuit play an interesting factor into the strategy because of the fact that there's virtually no walls you can hit. The likelihood of a safety car is much lower. So starting on the hards is probably the best option because you're far less likely to be messed up by an early safety car that allows your opponents to box onto the hards whilst you're still on the hards. So I think hards is probably the way to go. But with Andreas Enkervan starting on those mediums, he needs to capitalise quickly because around Qatar, the fall off of mediums is so sudden. Like I reckon he will have 8 laps where he will be faster than Montserrat on that compound, and then he will just drop. And the pit window is about lap 13 to 12 to 13 for mediums. So I think for those 4 laps or so where he is on those mediums compared to Montserrat on the better hards, he will struggle. But yeah, I think you will see a sudden drop off of the mediums compared to the hards.
Well, thank you, Owen, for that insight. That might be the way it goes. So this is not the championship finale, but might well be the championship finale, depending on what happens in these first couple of laps. We'll find out very soon what the scenario is into the final race of the season. 28 laps around this Qatar International Circuit, and one of the Williams has already blown off into the distance, but everyone else will take their grid slots and get ready to get underway here. This is probably, we said at Brazil that was probably the most important race of the season so far. This now becomes the most important race of the season so far. Montserrat Reversi with a chance of becoming the champion. We see 5 red lights. And it is lights out and away we go. And a rather sluggish start for Andreas Senkervan on the inside row of the grid. As, oh my word, Ethan Shackleton's already into the wall before we even started. Owen McGurk on the outside line is going to try and swoop into the lead of the race ahead of Andreas Senkervan, who slots into second position. Montserrat Reversi trying to get himself back into second spot, but can't quite do so. So it's Senkervan into second, but Aaron McGurk swooping into the lead of the race at the start of this one. And it's already Ethan Shackleton out to the back of the grid, and he's fallen down a lot. I'm not sure what happened there. He just gave a boot full of throttle and absolutely messed up the start completely, did Ethan Shackleton. But it's McGurk in the lead of the race as everyone else squeezes their way through. Reversi's in third, but those hard tyres have not worked for him so far, and now he's under pressure from Lewis Smith as well, who's looking to prevent someone else being crowned champion as early as this round of the season. We'll hope to extend his reign by just 7 more days. And Reversi will soon be under a lot of pressure, but Senkervan into second position. Remember, they're going to be 8 laps or so in the middle of this race, where suddenly Andreas Senkervan has got worse tyres than Montserrat Reversi, but for the time being, he's on the better compound of tyre and is trying to get into the lead of the race. As it stands, Andreas Senkervan will be your championship leader into the final race of the season, but it's early days yet in this 29-lap contest, and we've seen how quickly that can change here in the APC. As speaking of things that are very quickly changing, Ethan Shackleton's already caught up nearly half the advantage. He lost further behind the field. DRS is enabled this lap, and Senkervan, I think, has got Aaron McGurk exactly where he wants him. He's purple in that final sector and knows that with DRS down that big, long back straight next time by. I say back straight, that big, long pitch straight next time by, then he's going to breeze past surely the Williams driver, just hoping to keep that battery in check. He's already got DRS lost to Wongsvat Reversi this race. Not going to plan so far, but he's on that slightly worse compound of tyres, so that could again change and come back into Reversi's favour a little bit later on in this race. Owen said about 8 laps will be the window where the hards start to take over on all the mediums, so it is a bit of a slugfest for Reversi for the time being. He's got to defend hard. There's the race strategy on the screen for you. Lap 13 to lap 18 is a bit window for the medium tyres. We know for a fact it'll be much earlier than that, probably lap 13, the absolute upper limit of when you want to come into the pit lane on those tyres. As with DRS enabled this lap, let's follow our leaders into Sector 2. They don't want to lose too much time battling each other. And to be honest with you, if I was Aaron McGurk, I'd probably just allow Senkovan to get through at this point, because they need as much of a gap to Reversi as they can get in the first 6, 7, 8 laps or so this race, just while those medium tyres bed in a little bit. And heading into the final corner, right on board with your championship hopeful Andreas Senkovan wants to take it into next week and has already got the overspeed and now has the DRS for support as well. It's the fastest lap of the race for Andreas Senkovan as well, and it's a very, very simple overtake for the lead. So Senkovan into the lead. However, he made his best efforts to avoid winning the race last week. Let's hope he can be a little bit more consistent this week. 1.7 back to Wongsvat Reversi, who hasn't really been pressured by Lewis Smith too much. Lucas Sevencini just on the back, and some really good pace from Lucas Sevencini, by the way, as they look for second place in the Teams Championship. Do Williams ahead of Haas, which should be pretty simple with the two of them still to go, particularly with the points scored today by Aaron McGurk, who still is not letting, as 3-second time penalties goes out to Adam Watson, it's still not letting Andreas Senkovan get away just yet. There might be a bit of an overtake in the next lap already. Ethan Shackleton has managed to find his way through, as we've got a spinner, have we? It was a spinner, and it was Adam Watson, but he's back going again and pointing in the right direction. So Ethan Shackleton on the hard tyres has got Connor Stewart-Woodard on the hard tyres as well. This is the Ferrari driver, of course, wants to be towards the pointy end of the field, because that is where he's helpful to his teammate at the moment. Senkovan is stranded a little bit in that first place. And to be right on board with Ethan Shackleton, he'll be really hoping to pressurise Connor Stewart-Woodard very, very imminently, as we see field making their way into the first corner. Senkovan went faster than McGurk on the last lap once again, but there'll be yet another overtake, as it's a bit of a DRS train going on now. And a fairly simple move around the outside for Aaron McGurk as well. Whilst they're towing each other and not really battling, they don't really mind. They've got 3 seconds back to Wongsvat Reversi, as Ethan Shackleton does now get past on Connor Stewart-Woodard and shouldn't really have too many difficulties staying ahead in 7th position as it runs. As Lewis Smith, by the way, is really, really putting pressure on Wongsvat Reversi. I say really, really putting pressure on Wongsvat Reversi. Actually, Reversi is pulling away probably just about 1/10 of a second or so per lap, and it's frustrating Lewis Smith, who really needs to use the best of those medium tyres as long as he's got them. Next up for Ethan Shackleton, by the way, is going to be Carl Stewart-Woodard. That's what we're looking at in 6th position, so keep an eye on that as well as we head into the opening stages, or through the opening stage of this race. As still Senkovan puts pressure on Aaron McGurk. This is the leading battle, and this is a battle that could be so, so important for this championship fight, as McGurk isn't in the championship fight. He's in the Teams Championship fight for the minor placings, and will be overtaken once again. The good thing for Senkovan here is that he's still got plenty of ERS. He's not really burning it every time he's overtaking Aaron McGurk. And the thinking now might be, do I just spend 1 lap going fully gung-ho and getting that second gap and hoping that I can hold it with, albeit a lack of ERS, but enough time to hopefully regenerate it before Aaron McGurk puts pressure back on. But I don't think that's what he's going to do. Does, however, need to start gaining a little bit of time here. Just about 0.3 of a second over the course of this lap should give him enough margin to stay ahead of Aaron McGurk, I would think. As we'll go back to his teammate Ethan Shackleton, who's on the recovery drive after a very, very difficult start for him. He lit up the tyres straight out of the blocks. Ended up almost into the wall on driver's left. Plenty of ERS going for Shackleton as well, who's just trying to put a little bit of pressure on Kyle Stewart-Woodard. He got the fastest lap of the race last time out, I should mention, so he got an extra point for Alpine's team's championship. As speaking of the team's championship, just for your information, there's 30 points between Haas and Williams, and about 16 points between Williams and Alpine, so plenty going on to sort that out. And back to the top of the field, Aaron McGurk trying for the lead of the race once again. Will he go to the inside line? He will, and he gets the lead back. So ping-ponging at the top of the field. It's the problem with Formula 1 cars, just having an overtake button and not much dirty yet. You get these situations when all the cars are equal. As Ethan Shackleton has used the opportunity to get past on Kyle Stewart-Woodard, and that is a third overtake in almost as many laps. Lucas Evansini up next, who's running very high in 5th position. As it stands, they'd outscore Haas pretty significantly, and outscore Alpine as well, of course. As Lewis Smith sees Mongshout Reversi disappear down the road, it's 1.4 seconds now, and he's got time penalties as well to contend with as Lewis. You won't be too happy with that, as we've got a driver out of the race. He's retired on circuit, is Adam Watson. Will that be enough for a safety car? I don't think so, as the yellow flags are out. It's all about where that AI stops as to whether we get a safety car and or virtual safety car. But it might change the equation, because a safety car right now would play right into the hands of one man and one man only, and that is Wongsvat Reversi. But I think we're going to just about get away with it, as we see Andreas Senkovan go back for the lead of the race, and he does so before any prospect safety car arises. And already trying to gain enough time to get back into that kind of DRS, out of that DRS range. It's 5 tenths of a second, so probably, as I said earlier, about 2 tenths from here would give Senkovan the opportunity to stay ahead of McGurk. Just for a lap, that's all he needs really, as we get deep into the first stint here with those medium tyres starting to fall away. However, Reversi's yet to set a lap faster than these guys throughout the course of the race, so he's still just hanging in there. 2.7 seconds isn't a great deal at all. And then of course it will probably switch, and from now until about, I want to say about lap 20 probably, we'll see Reversi have better tyres than the guys immediately in front of him. He's gained a 10th of a second this lap, and it's where that working together from Senkovan and McGurk, the lack of defending, is going to start to pay dividends. But you can see 3/10 of a second this lap already gained by Reversi. So the strategy comes back into his favour, and we would be rather negligent to completely rule him out. That's a mistake from Aaron McGurk. That might give Senkovan the chance to stay ahead here, but the DRS and the ERS for McGurk is going to give him such an overspeed that once again Senkovan won't defend. Knows that if he does defend, then Reversi will be right back on them. And it's again just a little bit of a game of chess at the moment, as they try and gain as much time on Reversi as possible. 2.5 seconds at the line though. Reversi is finally faster than our top 2 guys. And that pit window probably about 4 laps or so away. If there are any safety cars or anything like that, that's going to bring them back into contention. But it's 2.3 seconds now between Senkovan and Reversi, so Reversi's suddenly looking a lot calmer of the two. Remember, his tyres aren't getting any newer, but those hard tyres hold up so much here that approaching about 6 laps or so away from half distance, Reversi is now in better position to attack, and at this rather quieter moment in the race, probably an opportunity to bring Owen back in and say, Owen, is this exactly how we expected it to pan out? I will say Senkovan and McGurk have been very, very nice to each other.
Yeah, the race so far is playing out exactly how I expected it. You know, the mediums at the start to pull away, and I said roughly around lap 8, Mongshout would begin to gain on them, and look what's happened. He's gained 4 tenths already this lap, so but on that pace, he'll catch up to them by the end of lap 11 into DRS. So yeah, pretty much playing out how I expected. The mediums, there's two ways you could go with this. Depends on how they've been saving their tyres. You could either go hell for leather on them for sort of 9 laps or so, going for the hards. Hards will do 20 laps. They won't be comfortable, but they will do the 20 laps. And then there's the other option of you save them a little bit, do 12 laps, and go for a big undercut on the hards, which the pit window for hards probably won't open till about 16, 17. But in my opinion, the optimal lap to go in would probably be 18, just so those mediums don't drop off significantly compared to the hards at the end.
Yeah, so of course, the thing that we're keeping an eye on now is Senkovan has got back into the lead, as you saw that on your pictures. So the thing we've got now is that if they come into the pits that early, it puts a lot of pressure on Reversi, doesn't it? Because all that time he's starting to gain, all of a sudden they've got much, much newer tyres than him.
Yes, but he will build something that is called a tyre delta. And the tyre delta in this game, the overcut, in my opinion, is so much more powerful than the undercut just because of how much better tyres you can have to the end of the race. The overcut is my preferred strategy, personally, in this game. So we will see.
Absolutely. So we'll wait to see as, thank you, Owen, Aaron McGurk getting back past Andreas Senkovan. This has been the theme all throughout the day as Lucas Terenzini is finally under a bit of pressure from Ethan Shackleton. He's been plodding away. It's been a good recovery from him so far as into the pits comes Lucas Terenzini. That gives Shackleton DRS and a chance to get clear road ahead of him, but he's now 10 seconds down on Lewis Smith, so probably the end of his battling for the time being as Terenzini pitting very, very early. I'll take the tyres off of your screen for you, so we're now well aware of what everyone's on. As Aaron McGurk plodding along still in the lead of this race, but under so much pressure from Andreas Senkovan. I wonder if McGurk has maybe overcooked his tyres a little bit, because look at how much pressure Senkovan is putting onto him. Reversi just 1.5 seconds behind as we get deep into what will be the pit window for the medium tyres, and McGurk is looking like a sitting duck at the moment. Senkovan, I'm surprised that he hasn't just thrown it down the inside and tried to get through. So tricky for him to not career into the back of the Williams driver. I wonder what has happened to McGurk. Does he dive into the pit lane this time? He doesn't. Instead, Senkovan will try and get himself back past. Reversi's so close to being in DRS range. Now Senkovan really, really needs to put the hammer down and try and get out of DRS, because this is the moment that could potentially be decisive in the race. Lap 11 of 29. Reversi then pounding away, 1.4 seconds. You can see the penalties on your screen as well. Lewis Smith and Carl Stewart Woodard both receiving penalties, 6 seconds for Lewis Smith. So that will bring Ethan Shackleton back into it. And Shackleton is in truth faster than Lewis Smith. So towards the end of the race, he could get himself back into that 4th position after finishing that first lap in 9th. We're on board with the Haas driver of Wongsvat Reversi, who's really, really attempting to get into that DRS range. He's only a 10th of a second down at the moment, and McGurk is not exactly falling away from Andreas Senkovan. So they'll continue to battle, which means that Reversi will continue to battle as well. He's so close to being in DRS range. That little green dot on your track map on the right-hand side of your pictures, that is the DRS detection zone. And Reversi is going to be flirting with being exactly in it. 9/10 of a second now. So Reversi will be within DRS and suddenly into the leading pair. However, he's got a 3-second time penalty. How important could that be towards the end of the race? He's got DRS. And all of a sudden, we start to think, as McGurk will take the lead of the race back, we start to think, will that 3 seconds decide the race at the end of the day? McGurk into the lead. Senkovan now trying to not lose as much time to Reversi as he can. Carl Stewart Woodard takes a second 3 seconds worth of time penalties. So does Connor Stewart Woodard, in fact. Is on board with the Haas as he really has been pushing the limits in the last couple of laps, hence that time penalty. Senkovan is all over the back of Aaron McGurk, but he has been, he seems to be faster than him, just not able to be fast enough to break the DRS and therefore lose the position. But this could be a 3-wide moment at the end of this lap. I'm not even joking, because Reversi is going to be really, really close. Serencini has got past Carl Stewart Woodard, who goes into the pit lane. We'll pick our leaders back up, as you can see. McGurk there, just ahead of Senkovan, who's just ahead of Reversi. Reversi through the right-hander is really, really pushing and really hoping that he can make the use of these tyres whilst they are newer, whilst he's got that tyre advantage. Because he'll have the tyre advantage now. And then by the time he pits, hopefully he'll have the tyre advantage once again. He's into the pit lane. Comes McGurk and Senkovan. That gives Reversi the lead of the race for the time being. Not the championship just yet. We'd require Andrea Senkovan to retire for that to take place. But hard tyres going on the Ferrari. Hard tyres going on the Williams now. So Reversi has the fresher tyres. And now we go back to thinking, when will he have the mediums? He's going to probably lose the pit window. As when they re-emerge, it'll be 19 seconds. So pit window, generally speaking, is about 20 seconds, 25 seconds or so, depending on many factors, the circuit being one of them. I don't know what the exact delta is around here. But it's actually about 25 seconds back to McGurk. So that will probably be about what the pit window is. A 3-second time penalty will be a factor for Reversi throughout the race. But for now, he can just keep trying to plod along, and hopefully, for him, Senkovan and McGurk battle and lose even more time while their tyres are fresher, and whilst they have the better tyres. But they've got DRS with each other, they can kind of tow each other along, really. And you can see Senkovan is not using any ERS at all, really. As Serencini gets 3 seconds worth of time penalties. The fact that these two haven't received time penalties might be the thing that changes the race towards the end, but we'll keep watching them, keep having our eye on them, as I would imagine they'll swap positions once again. This race will be very entertaining into the final couple of laps, as we've just passed half distance, or we will be passing half distance next time by, as we watch Senkovan rather easily get himself past McGurk once again. Fresh hard tyres on. And Reversi still waiting for that opportunity to pit. Owen says lap 18. Lap 19 probably will be the opportunity to pit. We'll be keeping an eye on the lap times, of course. As we can see the captain leader, 23 seconds. So Owen Boldero is a big twitch for Reversi with just about half distance completed in this one. Who's your money on?
Important phase of the race at the moment. Once we're at Reversi, obviously, on the old hard tyres, he needs to just bang in consistently good laps at the moment. But I still say my money's going to be on Wongster at Reversi. I think now that he's got that time penalty, I'd adjust ever so slightly and I'd come in earlier. I'd come in around 16.
Oh, he's got another one.
He's got another. Yeah, okay. Maybe change that a little bit. My money's on Andrea Chenkovan now. If he'd have not got that second time penalty, I would have said come in a little bit earlier. Deal with the wear later in the race because you've got a little bit of a tyre delta compared to them. But no, that's changed now. My money is on Andrea Chenkovan. I think Wongster at Reversi has a chance of catching them, but I don't think he will pull 6 seconds on them, to be honest.
And now we have the question, if it is going to be Senkovan, who's better around our final track on the calendar? It's Abu Dhabi next time out, 10th of December. So I do wonder, as Senkovan's now got into second position purely because we can see that Ethan Shackleton has not pitted, or has he? No, he hasn't pitted. So Andreas Senkovan has just caught up to Ethan Shackleton, and Shackleton's led him straight through. So that's the wingman game we were expecting. So thank you. Oh, and now this is interesting. Watch this. Watch how hard Shackleton is going to defend here from Aaron McGurk. This has caught everyone by surprise. No less, Aaron McGurk. Shackleton is defending very, very hard here, and on the inside line is just trying to make it as difficult as he can for Aaron McGurk, who goes wide. This is cracking stuff from the Ferrari driver, who now has to cede a little bit of time, but he's done the Sergio Perez game there and has actually allowed his teammate to get out of DRS range. So that is fantastic stuff, as you saw the fastest laps of the race there very briefly. Now we go back to the intervals. It's 1.1 seconds between Senkovan and Aaron McGurk. So Senkovan suddenly is in the lead of the race. Now that was incredible stuff, Owen.
Yeah, as you said, there's that wingman game we were expecting. Just defended beautifully. He probably could have held it out a little bit longer, but fantastic work there from Ethan Shackleton. He broke the DRS for his teammate Andrea Chenkovan. He has released him into clean air, and that puts a distance between him and obviously Aaron McGurk. But it also means that Aaron McGurk is going to be susceptible to one swap Reversi now. But of course, Reversi has that 6-second penalty.
And yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Owen. So lap 16 of the race, we've passed half distance. We're now deep into that second half, and Lewis Smith has got past Ethan Shackleton, who comes into the pit lane. He did exactly what was required of him there, and has really, really helped his teammate more than he could know. That was almost perfectly done for him. And very, very good race awareness to even plan that, because it completely slipped my mind. I didn't even know that he was losing that amount of time. And all within the regulations, of course, he's allowed to do that. And Aaron McGurk will probably be feeling a little bit frustrated at the fact that team orders have allowed that to happen. But his teammate, Lucas Evansini, might be able to get a bit of revenge here, as Shackleton's on brand new medium tyres. Older, but still relatively new. Hard tyres for Lucas Evansini, but look at how much less grip he's got than Shackleton, who now looks to attack Connor Stewart-Woodard, who himself has got 6 seconds worth of penalties. This should be relatively straightforward for Ethan, so he has to go to the outside line. He's really, really being held up by the McLaren. His eyes are on Lewis Smith towards the end of this race as well, of course, as it's 14 seconds to Lewis Smith just ahead. As now Shackleton looks at the outside line, he won't need to wait for the DRS, he's just going to swoop around the outside line as long as Reversi is in to the pit lane, and it's going to be medium tyres onto that Haas. 3-second time penalty goes out to Serancini as well, who looks to get himself past Connor Stewart-Woodard. Goes to the outside line. Connor's defending into that final corner. There'll be DRS available to the Williams. Both of them have got penalties that cancel each other out, so this is for position, and how it will end as well between the two of them. To the inside goes the Williams. It's not going to be that straightforward for him, but he will get through on the McLaren and have no real struggles with that. So fair play, decent move now at the top of the field as Reversi comes out on medium tyres, just 2.9 seconds down on our second place runner, and just 4 seconds down on our race leader. So with 6 seconds worth of time penalties, it'll be very, very tricky for him to win the race from here, but he is flying at the moment with the purple sector 2, and Chenkovan is actually falling down the wayside a little bit. It's 7/10 of a second between himself and McGurk, so he's got himself back into DRS as Aaron McGurk. I wonder if that's because Chenkovan is charging battery a little bit. He's not, so actually that must have just been a mistake from Andreas Chenkovan that has allowed McGurk back into proceedings here. Is there going to be a move? He's got the DRS this time but into the first corner. Won't quite be able to make a move. He almost outbrakes himself and overshoots into the back of the Ferrari driver, but gets himself back underway. 12 laps to go in the contest. And the battle for the race win here, watching the Almost Pro Championship, is as close as it can be. Been a slow burn this race, but the finale should be thoroughly interesting. 6/10 of a second between McGurk and Chenkovan, who have changed positions almost every single lap in this race. And if I was McGurk, I'd be wildly frustrated at the Ferrari teammate of Andreas Chenkovan. And it would give me a little bit more motivation to try and get through and win this race. It'd be his second race win of the season, of course. As just giving you a little bit of insight into this championship. Andreas Chenkovan would be only the second Ferrari champion if he were to win the championship next time out. As Reversi says, the fastest lap of the race. He's attacking hard, and at the moment Chenkovan has got McGurk's number, so those few laps outside of DRS has just allowed Chenkovan to settle into a bit of a rhythm and be a bit undeterred by the Williams driver. As the absolute record, by the way, for championships goes to Stuart Towers, who won 3 in a row in the first 3 seasons of the league. Then it went to Shackleton, and we had 2 Mercedes drivers, season 5 and 6. We know it's going the way of someone new. This time by Ferrari double Constructors' Championship as well, by the way. But we'll wait and see how this develops. Reversi now in DRS range around McGurk. This is starting to be the moment in the race where we really start to see a challenge as riding on board with the Williams driver, Aaron McGurk, through the right-hander into the left as they fly through Sector 3 here at Qatar. We'll now go with our championship leader, our championship hopeful, Wongsvat Reversi. He will not wrap it up today. That is almost certain now. But definitely will want to have the lead into the final race of the season. McGurk tries to get Senkovan. Now Reversi will try and get Senkovan as well. He goes down the inside line, will fire himself down the inside, but Senkovan knows how important this is. Holds the outside line, but can't quite hold it enough. Reversi's into second position as they go through the grandstand. We now see Reversi into second, Senkovan into third, and now Reversi's got to attack Aaron McGurk as well. This is going to be absolutely crucial. Now it's basically the opposite of the Shackleton thing, where Senkovan's going to lose DRS to McGurk almost certainly, purely because Reversi's been able to get past. We ride on board with a Haas driver once again as he really needs to get past and then start to build a gap. We've got 10 laps to go in the race. That is not a long time at all around this Qatar circuit. Translates to about 15 minutes worth of racing, and Reversi now needs to get past as a matter of urgency. Actually, needs to stay behind if he wants Senkovan to not win this race. But for now, can be pretty happy staying behind. He knows third position is his, but he knows that 6 seconds is the gap he needs. And the gap he needs to finish in victory lane at the end of this race. Once again, Sector 3 swoops into the left-hander, flicking that car in, and now a little bit of a longer right-hander. We'll try and get that exit. Is all over the curb, but won't matter too much for him as they're all going to try and swallow up Aaron McGurk here. Reversi with the better tyres, with the better pace, as well as here comes Andreas Senkovan as well to the inside line of Aaron McGurk, but I don't think he'll find his way through as they go into the first corner. Reversi leads the race on track for the first time in the race, with everyone having equal pit stops, of course. Now Senkovan will be keeping an eye on McGurk. They can just kind of let Reversi go here. They don't need to worry too much. 6 seconds is a long time to gain on medium tyres that are always going to be falling away from this point onwards. As already Reversi is on 4-lap old medium, so he's only got about 4 laps before those tyres start to fall away. Now Owen Boldero will drag you back in very quickly, because I'd like to know how long are those medium tyres going to be better than the hards for. Bear in mind that he's had the mediums on for 4 laps less.
Comparatively longer than in the first stint, purely because Aaron McGurk and Senkovan have laps on their tyres. I actually don't think the mediums will be worse than the hards till about lap 27, 28, purely just because they have laps on their tyres. So I think if Wongsvat can break DRS quickly, he might have enough laps, to get close to that 6 seconds. Whether he'd get the 6 seconds, I don't know, but he pulled 1.1 that lap alone, so it could be game on here.
Could be game on, and it's game on for second place as well. Whether this becomes the battle for the lead, we don't know, but there's already a second that Reversi needs, and Senkovan is still trying to pressure Aaron McGurk. They need to battle, but also they need to remember that they can't let Reversi go too far here, even though he has got the better tyres. This finale of one of the most important races of the season is going to be thoroughly entertaining, no matter what. Andreas Senkovan, as long as he finishes ahead of Reversi, is going to take the championship lead into the final round. But who wins in that final round is completely up to you. Let's wait and see, as McGurk is a little bit scruffy on this lap. Reversi's gained another 4 tenths of a second or so on the guys behind him, so he could be on the charge here. He knows that 6 second is the magic number. Into Sector 3 they go then. Lap 22 of the race. It'll be, just about 6 laps to go when they get to the line. That is still asking for nearly, probably 8 tenths of a second or so a lap for Reversi in order to take victory here, which is a lot of time on two drivers that are very, very quick. Let's ride on board with Senkovan once again, as he knows he needs to attack McGurk this lap, really. He's got plenty of battery charge to do it. Will expend nearly all of it into the first corner. Needs to also make sure he doesn't get any warnings, of course, because that would make Reversi's job so much more straightforward. We've got 1.1 seconds now at the front of the field. If Senkovan can now get into DRS range, then all of a sudden, that means that the battle with McGurk becomes more straightforward itself. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, through the squiggly bits, through the bits where the tyres are under so much stress. That's where the mediums are going to be in their own at the moment. Those 5-6 lap old mediums now versus the 10 lap old hards. So Lucas Avancini gets a time penalty as well. That's something to keep an eye on, as there's a battle at the back of the field between Lucas Avancini and Kyle Stewart-Woodard. They go into the final corner now, and we'll ride on board briefly with Kyle, who makes a bit of a mistake. Is he going to be able to attack Avancini at all in this one? Basically no battery charge, as you can see. He's virtually spent into the first corner, but we'll try and make the move from a long way back. That is so brave from Kyle Stewart-Woodard, and I think he's pulled it off as well. It is Kyle Stewart-Woodard into position, and into 6th position in the race. So no complaints from him as we go back to our leading group, who are almost a lap ahead of these guys. Going through the final corner. Senkovan's not quite in DRS of Reversi, and now McGurk will be trying to attack, but the question is, how much overspeed can he get, and when does Senkovan decide that he wants to start to defend? It won't be here, because in fact McGurk can't quite get the overspeed to make the move into the first corner. So with 5 laps to go in the contest, it is Wongsvat Reversi currently in the lead of the race comfortably, but with 6 seconds worth of penalties, remember. He's on medium tyres, guys behind him on the hards. And we'll be keeping an eye on these guys, as there's a big moment in the race, as Andreas Senkovan now gets a 3-second time penalty. So Reversi's eyes light up. His job becomes so much more simple now, and McGurk, his job becomes more simple if he wants to take victory in the race. So Andreas Senkovan, with that time penalty, now only needs to lose 1.3 seconds to Wongsvat Reversi if Reversi is to finish ahead of his championship rival, as Avancini gets himself back past on Kyle Stewart-Woodard. But that is a costly error from Andreas Senkovan, and the question now remains, Owen, how likely is Aaron McGurk to get a penalty?
I think Aaron McGurk should just take it completely easy now. Stay behind Senkovan. If you need to, you can let Senkovan go. If you're in Aaron McGurk's situation, you can afford to drop back now. You've got that safety net. All you need to do is just be careful for these final 5 laps. In Wongsvat's case and Andrea's case, they're both going to be absolutely going for it to try and respectively get what they want. So Wongsvat will be trying to extend that gap to that 3-second mark so he can extend his championship lead, whilst Senkovan will be trying to stay in that 3-second range so he can jump into the championship lead. So it's going to be a fascinating end to this race.
Will be fascinating, as through the first sector, Senkovan was able to gain a 1/10 of a second. McGurk is not doing as Owen suggested, in fact wants to win this on track and wants to be in control of Reversi in trying to stay. I think now Senkovan probably just has to consider Reversi. Forget Aaron McGurk, you're not getting 3 seconds on him. You can hope that he gets a penalty, but that's all you can do. It's all about trying to play damage limitation against Wongsvat Reversi. It's 9/10 of a second in what will be 4 laps when we get to the line. However, these hard tyres will start to come back into their own very, very shortly. So has Reversi understepped at any point in this race? We'll wait and see. Of course, if McGurk gets a time penalty, that changes the equation. Once again, we're riding on board with Andrea Senkovan, who, as it stands, will be your championship leader at the end of this race. But that is very, very up in the air. He's going to gain more time on Reversi here because he's got the DRS and Aaron McGurk, and will, as we have been doing throughout pretty much all of this race, we'll swap positions once again with Aaron McGurk. They've changed positions with each other on virtually every single lap of this race. And it's now just 1.8 seconds. So has Reversi's tyres been spent in this one? Is that going to be something that we consider now towards the end? With 3 laps when we get to the line, and Reversi's had to do a long, long time on those medium tyres, and Senkovan has started to gain time back. So I think Reversi might have left it a little bit too little, too late. 2.4 seconds back to Aaron McGurk. As Senkovan now can only hope that Aaron McGurk gets a time penalty and therefore he'll win the race. It's, as I said, anyone's to win from this point, but increasingly less likely to be Wongsvat Reversi's. As it stands, as I said, Andreas Senkovan will lead the championship at the end of this one, but he'll only lead it by 2 points, if I'm not mistaken. 15 will go to Reversi. 18 will go to Senkovan. That's a 3-point swing, therefore 2 points at the top of the order. And that is not a lot at all heading into that final round of the season. It will mean that literally the fastest lap could decide it when we get to Abu Dhabi in 7 days' time. But for now, Reversi trying to pull out an extra second in 3 laps on Andreas Senkovan. Aaron McGurk will surely start to play it safe and make sure he stays behind Senkovan in these final couple of laps, as we have done a couple of times this season. We're looking at purely at the scoreboard, looking at that gap to leader. The only important metric at the moment. You see Reversi, the gap he's got on circuit, but it won't really matter too much when we get to the end of this one. Serencini gets another 3 seconds worth of time penalties. That won't really do anything in the battle for 6th position, actually, because Connor Stewart-Wood has got a whopping 19 seconds worth of time penalties. He's really struggling to keep it on the circuit in this one. 2.2 seconds the gap, by the way. So Reversi has got a bit more battery charge, maybe is just expending a little bit more, and he's also going to have DRS very soon on the McLaren of Connor Stewart-Woodard. So that could be another hugely important twist in this race, as Kyle Stewart-Woodard, by the way, has come into the pit lane. He's attempting to take the fastest lap point. The fastest lap point, by the way, could be so important as well in this one. Currently, it goes to Wongsvat Reversi, so actually it would just be 1 point heading into the final round of the season. You couldn't ask for much better than that, could you, really? He's got 7 tenths of a second to gain before he really takes the championship lead, as we see Aaron McGurk try and get past Senkovan once again. It's now 5 tenths of a second for Reversi to gain on 2 laps of the race. This is going to be so close. It will only actually be 3 tenths of a second, as Senkovan is falling away from Reversi so quickly. And of course, if McGurk even extends on that white line a little bit, he will get a penalty as well, and suddenly it will be back into the game for Wongsvat Reversi, who got held up a little bit by that McLaren a moment ago. It's 3 tenths of a second required, a bit of a snap of oversteer, but again, it's good news for Reversi, who's so close to that 3 second mark that he needs. He'll head on to the final lap of the race, and it's going to be pure luck from that point onwards. The McLaren needs to get out of the way of our front runners so quickly, because they could easily lose 2 tenths of a second. It's gone to 3 seconds. It has gone to 3 seconds between Reversi and Senkovan as we head on to what will be the final lap of the race into Sector 3 now, very deep into Sector 3. How important could this be in the championship fight? Andreas Senkovan might just be falling away from Wongsvat Reversi, his championship rival. He needs a 10th of a second himself now in the final lap of the race, and Aaron McGurk makes a bit of a mistake. This gives Senkovan the opportunity. He's going to need to capitalise on the DRS in order to try and just squeeze back into that 3 second mark, as McGurk will surely win the race, as he's going to have DRS on the McLaren ahead of him. Senkovan needs that overspeed. He needs the slipstream. He's going to try and attack McGurk here, but he can't really do it too much. 2.5 seconds as they get to the line, so there's going to be 5 tenths of a second in the final lap. It's going to be Wongsvat Reversi who needs to gain 5 tenths on his championship rival Andreas Senkovan into the final few kilometers of this race in order to take the championship lead into the final round. Otherwise, it will be stolen away by the Ferrari driver, looking to be just the 2nd Ferrari driver to win the championship in this championship's history. The 6 seasons that have been taken place so far, and a bit. 2.8 seconds, 2.6 seconds now is the gap as they head through Sector 2 of this Qatar circuit. It will probably be in the favour of those guys just behind, as Reversi on the medium tyres has been on them for so long, but it's 2.9 seconds into Sector 3. It will all be about that run to the line, I think. If Reversi exits that final corner and is not with 3.1 seconds or so, then it will probably go the way of Senkovan for 2nd place. McGurk has almost certainly taken victory here, and Senkovan knows that he just needs to get towed along by McGurk. 2.9 seconds. It's so difficult. Reversi's heading into the final corner now. Has he done enough? Right now, He has. It's 3 seconds as they make their way to the line. It's a monster job for Wongsvat Reversi, but it's 2.9. So by just a couple of hundredths of a second, Andreas Senkovan will go into second position. He takes the championship lead into the final race of the season. In the end, it was literally a tenth of a second between the two of them. And I haven't even mentioned yet Aaron McGurk taking his second victory of the season in a thoroughly well-managed race. Unbelievable stuff at the end of that one, but we were looking at those lap times throughout the final couple of laps. The race is completed in 41 minutes and 38 seconds. Third place is Wongsvat Reversi, Lewis Smith in fourth, and then Ethan Shackleton recovers to fifth in what is ultimately a very, very good drive. Owen Boldero, what are your thoughts on that?
Half a tenth. That's after 41 minutes of racing. Half a tenth on penalties is all that split Wongsvat Reversi and Andrea Chenkovan, with Andrea Chenkovan for the first time taking that championship lead. I'm not sure whether it was by a point or 2 points, because I'm not sure whether Wongsvat got the fastest lap in the end, but it's either a point or 2 points, which absolutely sets up a grandstand finish next week at Abu Dhabi. And a fantastic race. Little bit of a slow burner, as you said, towards the start, but really came to life in those final 10 laps with Wongsvat getting those penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as we see the celebrations going on, this championship is so much up in the air. It will be 1 point, as you can see. Wongsvat Reversi got the fastest lap of the race, so 1 point. It will be Andreas Senkovan in the lead of this one as we head into the final race of the season. But Aaron McGurk takes another really good victory. That's so good for Williams as well in this championship hunt. They're going to score more than Haas and possibly cut that advantage down a little bit more. Senkovan in second position. Then it will be Reversi. Shackleton in fourth. Lewis Smith rounds out your top five. So a really good drive from Shackleton back into fourth position. Then it is Lucas Arancini, Connor Stewart-Woodard, Carl Stewart-Woodard, and finally Adam Watson. So we're going to head back to this screen here and hopefully get some interviews in. First of all, we've got an interview with Andrea Senkovan. Andrea, welcome to the stream. That was about as tense as it's got, but for the first time in the entire season, you are in the championship lead and you are probably favourite to take it.
Yeah, we will see. It was pretty tense race. Yeah, I got basically the penalty on the slowest corner of the track, so I'm not proud of that.
Yeah, and as we head into that final race of the season, Reversi, you've got the better of him today. You've got the better of him at a couple of tracks this season. How are you going to be assessing that Abu Dhabi Grand Prix?
Yeah, not sure. We will see in a week time what will be the strategy, the best, and setup and everything.
Well, in terms of the Constructors' Championship, we didn't quite mention it last time out because we hadn't confirmed that Ferrari had won, but you have won the Constructors' Championship. You must be pretty delighted with that.
Yeah. We repeated the... We also, I think, won last year, so we repeated.
Yeah, that's correct. It's double Constructors' Championship. Hopefully, a driver's on the way as well. Thank you very much, Andrea. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, bye.
That was second place finisher Andreas Senkovan, but now we'll speak to race winner Aaron McGurk. I'll be completely honest with you, Aaron. The championship battle has kind of overshadowed your win there, but the second the penalties happened, you all of a sudden just had that opportunity to sit in and just enjoy those final few laps. Second race win of the season.
Yeah, I was just I knew Andrea and Wongsvat were going to be battling for the win, so I was like, I can use this to my advantage, and hopefully they stumble over each other, and they kind of ended up doing that because there's a point, but right before Andrea got his penalty, I think he wanted me to go through on the main straight, and I was just like, I'm just going to sit behind here. And after that, I think Andrea realized the gap between him and Wongsvat's getting bigger, and he needs to close, and that's what then led to the penalty that next lap. And then after I seen Andrea get the penalty, I was like, okay, just do not bottle it.
And you didn't bottle it. Of course, last week you had the opportunity to maybe take a victory, but this week you have finally done it. As we head into Abu Dhabi, it's going to be the story of our title rivals, isn't it? Really, in Reversi and Sankovan. But you might be able to spoil that party again. How do you rate your chances at Abu Dhabi?
Well, Qatar, I think, is my best track. I think after today, it's definitely my favorite track. I was already thinking it's one of my favorite tracks, but I think it is my favorite track. So it is a track I'm good at. Whereas Abu Dhabi, I'm a bit So I would honestly not even expect me to be near Wongswat and Andrea at Abu Dhabi. So don't expect anything. To be honest.
Well, hopefully we see you at the sharp end. But well done, Aaron. Once again, we'll speak to you soon.
All right, thank you.
That was Aaron McGurk, your race winner. Well, drag back in Owen while we wait for anyone who might be wanting to join us in the next couple of minutes' time or so. But Owen, now we have this championship going to the wire. We know that for a fact. Well, how are we assessing it?
A season of two halves, let's put it that way. At one point, it really didn't look like we were going to have a battle separated by a point. I mean, Wongswat was a runaway train for the first half. I mean, by round 8, he had like a 50-point gap. But obviously, he missed those two races consecutively. And since then, Andrea Chenkovan has just taken every single opportunity that's come at him to gain on Wongswat Reversi, whether it was when he was winning whilst he was away. And then when Wongswat has come back, the 2 races he's come back, he's outscored him. So a really good effort from Andrea Chenkovan to take this to the final race when it looked like there was no hope of that happening. So let's hope we have a fantastic race next week and a not repeat of last season where one of the championship contenders crashes on lap 1, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hoping for that much. And let's just take a little bit look at the teams at the moment. So we know that Williams and Alpine are in this bit of a battle. Williams have now actually closed the gap to Haas a little bit. How do you think that's going to go? Surely Haas will finish second. Wongswat will have enough, I think.
Yeah, probably should do. But I think if we had any more races, then it would be up in the air a little bit more.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It doesn't look like anyone else is wanting to join us for a chat. So we'll close out the broadcast now. My thanks to Owen Boldero for his time in this one. That was a cracking race. Join us in 7 days' time as we see the championship reach its finale. Just 1 point in it at the top of the order right now. Join us in 7 days' time for the grand finale. Good night for now.
We're underway and racing. Stay on the brakes, goodness me, what a launch! The outside of turn 1 and takes the lead of the race.